Hi everybody, my name is MxRheyRhey and today I will be going through my 10-day art challenge that I have done previously. I'm going to say what I did, show you guys what I did and what I learned from it. If you guys wanted to try this 10-day challenge for yourself as well, I will put a link in the description of the webpage where I found all of my prompts. It was a 10-day art challenge. I just sort of felt like I needed to do something kind of small, but something that would challenge me to try to figure out what I like to do paint-wise, what I like to, how I like to work and everything, because lately I've just sort of been drawing whatever, but I don't feel like I've really been like thinking about what I'm doing. I did this 10-day art challenge to figure out just how, like, get a better sense of how I am as an artist to myself. So let's get started because I'm rambling. So let's start with day number one. Day number one was a self-portrait. This is watercolor paper that you can fold into a canvas. It was made by Arteza. It was 11 by 14, but when you fold it down, it goes to, like, I don't know, almost an 8 by 10. It's I don't want to find the sizing right now, but I'll just put it in the somewhere in the video. So I did absolutely have a reference piece for this. There's no way I was able to draw this freehand. If you kind of look closely, if I can make it look closely, you can see like the lines I did because I used sort of a grafting method to sketch on here. And I used these new watercolor tube paints that I got while I was on holiday a couple of months ago, and I haven't been able to use them lately. But it was a Winsor & Newton Cotman edition of turquoise and a diox. Come on. I know how to say this. I do. Oh, yes. So turquoise and dioxazine purple. It's a really nice purple. I've always really loved that shade of purple. It's like a bluish purple, kind of dark, but you can turn it bright if you really need to. I am very uncomfortable with drawing facial features and people, and especially myself. So this was rough just from the get-go for me. But the things that I made mistakes in is in my sketch. If you follow me on Instagram, you can find it, like the piece and my reference photo just behind it. This little reference piece, as you can see from here, I forgot to draw 2 fingers. So there's going to be some sort of mistake or something in every picture, but I guess that's where I learn from. But other than that, I think I did a good job with shading on here, despite not having fingers. The hair could use some work. I don't know how to draw braids or dreads or locks, however you want to call them. I actually like to call them locks, but they're still baby locks, so they just look like braids right now. This was in watercolor, obviously, otherwise I probably wouldn't have used watercolor paper. But this was also my first time using this sort of like paper canvas. I really like it. I want to use it again. I was just kind of wary about it because I was worried about the quality, and I know there are some brands out there that like the quality is sort of like important. But all in all, for a self-portrait, I believe this is one of the best I've ever had to do. We always have to, in my school growing up, I had to do self-portraits every once in a while for like, I don't know, other kids felt like it was torture, but like artist kids thought like, okay, well, I'm just bad at drawing myself. I also am working on liking myself, so having something I feel neutral about that's obviously, to me, obviously my face. I guess that's a good step forward, and I'm going to stop talking about myself now because I'm getting uncomfortable. Day 2 was an animal, and I did this with markers. I don't want to go through like a whole these are the brands I use thing, but like if you guys like the colors on here, These are alcohol markers on alcohol paper, so you turn it around and there's bleeding. So marker paper is really more for like acrylic markers. But I bought these at my spray paint supply store. These are 94 graphic markers by MTN. I really enjoy like the primary color palette for what I've used slightly of these, and some peachy sort of colors in here I actually used from the Artist Loft alcohol marker brand, specifically just the powder, this color, you can't read that, specifically just like the powder color, just to give it sort of like a lightness, so everything's not entirely white, but you can kind of see the some details in there. I specifically drew this horse because my mother has been asking me to paint her a specific horse from like an ad she saw on Facebook for a while, and I absolutely did not do it justice, especially since this is marker, and I'm pretty sure the horse that I used as reference, as again you can see in here, I used like the graph system that I used for my self-portrait. But from this, I'm at least happy you can tell it's a horse. I think I got a little high from all of the marker fumes, but it was like too hot and dusty outside for me to open the windows and doors. Like I couldn't justify killing myself from allergies to like vent so I can draw this. Yes, I'm not happy with this. I feel like using marker was probably the reason. I don't like all of the gaps. You can feel like his mane and everything feels very erratic, and like he has been under a lot of stress and losing hair. It's supposed to look windy though, and if you go on my Instagram and you see the reference, you'll be able to like tell, yeah, there was an attempt. I got it done, and I'm proud of that part. I at least like that you can, one, you can tell it's a horse, and two, unintentionally I was trying to like just fill this in, and I guess I got the body of the horse. Now that I'm looking at it like a week later, I got like the body of the horse, because in the painting you can just see like his face, and the mane is like everything else, and there's a lot of colors in there. And it was a mess for me to even attempt, but I don't know, it was for my mom. So day 3 for my art challenge was a landscape, and that I'm actually pretty well versed in. Now it's all bendy. I think it's from where I left it when I was done. But this was actually done on a Strathmore 400 series watercolor block. Because I'm used to landscapes, and so it wasn't going to be too much of a challenge for me, I actually made my own challenge where I limited my palette. What I did was I took all of my watercolor tube paints, because I'm used to using like my pan set, so I wanted to use my tubes for a second. I took all of my pan tubes that are in that little orange box that I showed you before, and I just threw them on my table, and I closed my eyes and picked 3, and then I didn't kind of like the colors that I chose, so I did it all again. I ended up getting a alizarin red, a cerulean blue, and a Payne's gray. So I did that. And I used some of my Arteza watercolor pencils, but I did it in sort of the same shade. I have an alizarin red watercolor pencil. So I technically wasn't cheating. I just kind of needed a different texture, so you could tell that the trees were trees. It's a standard painting, and I'm happy with it. It's just not something maybe I would like sell. What did I learn from this painting? I learned, I should do that. What I learned is that I really liked actually doing limited palettes, or like limited palette challenges. Shoot, that was my phone. Okay, phone saved. I just have to stop wearing such slippery pants. yeah, I don't think I actually learned anything like contemporary about this piece. I knew like when you go backwards into depth to make things feel like they're far away, you want to like sort of mute or what's the word? Fade the colors. So like this back one that you can barely see is like the most faded because it's farther away. This is a lighter purple slash Payne's gray because I did a layer of black over the purple. I don't know, I like it, but it's not the best. But yeah, I think what I learned from this one mainly is that I really like doing a random limited palette challenge for myself. It makes me think critically of like, okay, well, how does like the color theory work? What are its values? And no, it's really nice. I get to think like abstractly, and I like abstract in most things because I just am done with reality. Day 4 was Seascape, and you guys saw me paint this one in a previous video. I think overall, out of all of the challenges, this is still pretty much my favorite. I like playing with calligraphy pens along with watercolor. I like sort of a messy outline like I did in the mountains of this. Oh yeah, it sort of looks like it's a storybook-esque, how I did the sky, not really like fading, touching the buildings and everything. I could have done a little better on the water. In one way, I like it because it shows like the water is textured and everything, and it's not still. But on the other, like I feel like it doesn't match entirely the rest of the painting. But yeah, I think from this one I learned that I actually really like doing like having calligraphy line work along with this and the messy-ish outlines. I sort of always have gravitated to watercolor paintings that look like this, just because it always feels like very free and loose and fun, and it's just a really nice style that I like. So this was very helpful to me. I can't say there's a lot of negative things that I feel about this one. Okay, so these next few paintings are actually going to be within my little travel sketchbook, which is also Arteza. I know I said a little while ago that I was really worrisome about the Arteza brand and how quality is, but I ended up going on a spree a while ago, and like they were 3 watercolor sketchbooks for like a really good price, and I thought, well, even if it's like not the best quality waterpaper, it's still like it would still be really good to travel with, and it's like small and neat, and I do end up liking it. There's a little bit of warping, as you can kind of see with the pages that I have done, but that's to be expected with really any watercolor paper. So for day 5, I had actually, the reason I was using the watercolor sketchbook was because I couldn't be in the studio. The week I was doing this, I had to babysit my lovely little niece, who just is very much a people person and loves to play with other people and not really herself. So I had to set my paints down and spend time with her for a couple of days. But day 5's prompt was sunset, so I was really happy because that first day of babysitting with her always like wears me out so much. And so I just made a very simple sunset. I kind of tried to play with the colors at the bottom so it wasn't just all black. I did also use some of my travel kit watercolor. Yeah, I was happy with the sunset. I was sort of just at day 5, which is right in the middle. I was getting to the point where I'm running out of ideas. I really just want to I don't want to lose this challenge because I have a very bad problem with like sticking to things consistently. But but I told myself it's a sunset. Sunsets are a small range of colors. You can even add purple in there if you want to, which I love doing. I love when there's purple in my sunset. But I liked using these pens for something small like this. If you add a lot of water, you get to not see the streaks anymore, but like I kind of do like the streaks in this one. Like it's consistent, so it's more of a style. I really like the sunset, how it's like you can't stare at a sunset or at the sun part of a sunset, so like it sort of bleeds through and fades with the sky. I was able to do that. Playing with like a purple and orange down here made a really nice brown, which didn't make it feel like it was just black. The granulated earth red that I used in here helped with that too, just made it feel more textured. But yeah, that was really nice. I liked the simpleness of this. I love I'm still learning how to use these pens, but so far I like what I'm doing. Let me turn this around. I turn these around. They're not always going to be of the same orientation because I am left-handed. Day 6 was flower. I have like very little experience drawing like outright flowers, so today I sort of just like felt like going a little crazy, like, okay, well, let's do something that looks like flowers. So I just thought, okay, well, today, if I'm still learning how to use my brush pens, I'm just gonna have fun with some colors, do like basic shapes of flowers and just see where it goes. Shade wise, this is the best flower, and probably realistic wise, because I have no idea what that is, or even just really this very colorful dandelion-ish type. No, I know, I have these flowers in my mom's garden. If they're still in bloom, I'll take a picture for you. Otherwise, I don't know what they're called. But yeah, this one was like just really quick. I realized flowers and bouquets aren't really anything without some sort of leafy green in them. So I just tried to splay out some sort of leaves and everything. This one, I actually got inspiration from this little doodle I did a while ago. These are more like mistletoe leaves without, the actual poison or mistletoe berries. This one, I was in a rush and just so tired, so I can understand why these don't look the best. Going back to this the next day, I was like, okay, so I really just need to learn to take a break when I need to, because obviously I did only a 10-day instead of a 30-day for a reason, because I knew my energy levels and everything, but there are just some times where I need to stop and like take care of myself for a little bit. I'm not saying like this is the worst painting I've ever done, but like it was really getting there because I was making mistakes as I was making, like I realized I was making mistakes as I was making them. Like there's a lot of bleed through some of these. They're not as crisp as I wanted them to be. And I won't say like, well, the paper wasn't straight or anything. I'm not gonna make excuses for myself for that, but there are definitely things that when I'm tired, I know I'm not gonna make my best material with them. But other than that, I mean, these are a pretty color. It's a pretty palette that I put together. I don't know if I'm gonna go into the business of flower arrangements, but it was nice, and I liked learning more about the brush pens that I used. So day 7 was the prompt of front door, and when I was reading through the website, they were saying that they literally just were so tired that day that like 7 or so at night, like 7 or so at night, when they were just like tired, it was the end of the day, they literally just stepped outside and painted their front and sketched out their front door. I wanted to sort of do that too, but also like I started getting creative, and I started thinking, well, it would be really cool if like our door was like a stained glass and it had colors in it. And then I sort of just threw away my front door idea and just decided to paint a stained glass door itself. The side panels, because it's a big double wide doors, I made those simple, just like a little rainbowish down. I wanted this to sort of look like the sun as a stained glass, and I think I pulled it off, but also I think I didn't. These I just sort of like, these remind me of like stained glass you would see at like in like a bar in the city that doesn't want you to know what time of day it is. Like, overall I like the door. I forgot to draw a doorknob, but that's just how it goes. If I'm going to do stained glass again, I'd rather it be like a bigger piece with more detail than just something like a small sketch. So you can really like think creatively and not just be like, well, this is a door. Okay, so day 8 was literally the prompt of anything, and I thought, oh god, that doesn't work for me. Like, I need direction or else I can't do a thing. But I ended up creating this. It's just a night sky. It is on a watercolor panel by Ampersand. Because the prompt was anything, I pretty much just thought, okay, well, what have I done only like one time or so in the past? And in my old folder, like around the beginning, I did the moon because I really like the moon. So I just did like a really nice night sky. I used my gouache to do this one. Not my metallic gouache, but like my Reeves gouache. I think I did a video about it, like one of the few first videos I've done talking about Reeves gouache. It's good for beginners and everything. This came out okay. Everything I was doing on here was on purpose, like the grainy sort of like swept version of like the night blue sky. Yeah, out of everything, the moon is the main piece, and that's what I like the best about it. Adding colors to it, like with gouache, it's really nice because you can work from light to dark or dark to light. The clouds, I have to really work on making clouds. I realize this, even though I do mostly, like, I have yet, besides my self-portrait, I have yet to actually draw like a character person. So I'm mostly doing landscapes. I want to work on characters, but that's a different thing for a different day. So I really should be able to like draw clouds or paint clouds, and like I think I did okay. This was intentional right here. It was supposed to be like a reflection of the moonlight, but the moon is behind it, so that doesn't work. I like to make my paint strokes intentional. So like the wispiness of the sky is intentionally my paint strokes. So like that way you follow the paint strokes itself tells like the outline or detail of like whatever I'm drawing. But yeah, the worst part about this is definitely the clouds. They're just not coherent, or they're not consistent with each other. You can definitely see where I'm trying to just make the clouds work and I get frustrated. But yeah, other than that, like my favorite piece and the best part about this that I think still makes it work is the moon. It's just really creamy and I like it, and it's just a really pretty moon. My day 9 piece I left at home, but I'll take a better picture of it when I can. But this pretty much from my Instagram was my day 9, which is in the prompt that you are going to see on the website. Day 9 is actually space, but when I was reading through the article, I realized that they just got their art challenge from Pinterest, and so like I dug in my heels, gritted my teeth, and went into Pinterest because it's a really annoying website to me. I don't understand the format at all, and I found the specific prompt, or as close as I could to the specific prompt that they found, and I realized that day 9 for that prompt, everything else was exactly the same. It's just day 9 was something in a jar rather than space. I just didn't feel like drawing space. It wasn't something that was easily coming to mind, like, oh well, I could just do some. I just wasn't feeling space, so I did something in a jar. That was my prompt. And then I thought, okay, well, I actually can do something with that because I have the best reference pictures that I didn't know were reference pictures when I took them. My reference piece was actually this. I took this picture years ago. It was my little memento from a beach trip that my family and I took that year, because my dad always had a habit of like collecting something from the ocean, whether it was like driftwood or seashells or like dried seaweed, and he would always come home and make something out of it, and it was always really cool. So I myself took some seaweed and some sand and actual ocean water from the beach, and I made this little picture, and then this was my rendition of that picture. It's obviously not the exact same. The perspective itself is not consistent. You can tell that like the jar is going this way, but the lid is slightly skewed to the bottom of the jar. And while I like the coloring in it, I like how I mixed the colors in here. This was also my Joan of Arc watercolor, pastel watercolors mixed with my brush pens and a little bit of the granulated red earth watercolor that I have to make all of these colors. But the one thing that is keeping me from liking all of this is just the perspective of it. Like how I painted everything is great. It really reminded me of like my seascape photo. The pencil sketching in there really helped make texture. It's just the perspective that I really need to work. I used to take a little like 20 or so minute class every day for drawing and sketching, like how to like just sketch better, like start with like basic shapes and go from detail from there. And it's been a really long time since I've practiced my sketching, so I can see why my perspective is skewed in this painting. And it just made me learn that, hey, I really need to go back to sketching every day and practicing every day so I can become a better artist. So, before I take out my day 10 prompt art, what it was actually, the prompt was your favorite piece of art, but my favorite piece of art, but in my style. And I don't actually have a favorite piece of art. I was thinking, like originally you think, oh, well, it's gonna be like some famous like Picasso or Van Gogh painting. And really when I read it back, it was just a favorite piece of art. So it could have been like Pikachu fan art for all the prompt cared. But I didn't actually have a favorite piece of art. So I literally just Googled different timelines in art history, and I picked the genre that I felt like I liked the most, and then I went into that and I found a picture that I feel I really just sort of connected with in a way. But it was an oil painting, and when you're a watercolor artist, that is the exact opposite of anything you can do. But I chose, and I have the picture uploaded so I can just show you guys. It is called Tugboat on the Siena Chateau by a French painter named Maurice de Vlaminck. What I really like about this piece is just like the texture of it. Like you can see every paint stroke in it, and it really just adds to the painting. It's just very colorful. It's almost impressionist in a way. Impression or expression? I'm gonna say impression. If it's wrong, I'll correct myself later. But it's really more of like an impressionist piece, and I was excited to try and figure out how to get that same sort of texture into my painting, and it just didn't work out the way I wanted to. Like by itself, I guess this painting would have been fine, but because I tried to experiment in a way that I wasn't like, well, okay, like we all have to experiment for the first time, so no, this painting is not like good, but it's really good in a way that like you learn something. So This is the watercolor version of the tugboat on the Sienna Chateau. This was also on my Strathmore 400 series watercolor block, because if this was going to be small, it was not going to work at all in any way. Some of the texture in here that you can see, they're not just like finger paints, which I wouldn't blame you if you thought that was true. So like in here, like the little pieces and the smoke from the tugboat, that's all in an aqua pasto. This right here, it is a watercolor medium that thickens and reduces the flow of your watercolor paint. It makes it sort of like a colorful gravy, and that way I was able to use a palette knife to like create the textures that you do see. It's not just like the river on fire. It's supposed to be like, I guess, leaves or just yellow grass or something like that. If I had left it like over here where I didn't use any aquapasto at all, this would have been like an okay painting to me, and I guess adding the texture to it does add some depth, no pun intended. But I just, for an attempt, you can tell that this is a watercolor version of that. So I guess in that way, this was a win. I don't know. I just feel like this looks like this was my first time trying to paint at all. And it's really, to me, I don't like it. Like, I get it and I understand. Some parts of it I kind of understand where I got wrong, because like my mixing was wrong. I was impatient. This took me so long, and it was impatient of me to do this. Part of this, if I had done all of it in like this aquapasto texture like I was planning to, it probably would have looked okay, but I was getting so tired by like the end of it that like I remembered that I had to do the sky, and like this boat I was just completely ignoring for all of it. So I was just like, you know what, I am so tired, I have to say this is done or else I'm gonna like drop. So like I did learn something from this, and I learned more about myself as a painter, so that mission was accomplished. It's just looking back on all of them, I don't know how to feel. Like, obviously there are times where you don't like what you create, and like you have to realize that like you're always learning, and so not everything will always be your best, and you just have to accept that and learn from it and appreciate that part of your artistic journey and paintings. It's just, I don't know, I guess this is still too fresh for me to like really appreciate it. Maybe I'll like look back at them again next month or something and do it that way. But you're not supposed to like all of your art, you're just supposed to learn from it, from when you do art challenges. It's nice when you can show it off and people like really appreciate what you do, but art challenges really are for the artist that's doing them. I can definitely say I learned something from all of these paintings, and I appreciate that I stuck it out for the whole 10 days. That was a very long rambling of my art challenge and what I learned from it. If you guys want to do the art challenge yourself, I have the website that I got my prompts from in the description down below. Let me know how it goes. If you want to check out my Instagram, where I post most, if not all, of my art pieces that I do, go ahead and do that. The link for that is somewhere, probably in the description now. But yeah, that was the video. I thank you guys for making it this far. I really appreciate it. Subscribe if you liked this video. Leave a comment down below which one would you think was your favorite. I would love to hear what you guys think, or if you have any tips about maybe the things that you saw that were wrong. And I'll just see you guys in the next video. So, bye!